try that again. Hey guys, so I wanted to bring you a really quick couple of ideas that you can do that are autumn nature inspired or even just nature inspired, um, things that you can do for sensory uh, additions to your art and junk journals. Sorry, my printers are going off. It's a little loud. But so you can see right here, I made this little, there's a little sachet right here. So that's one of the ideas. I'm going to show you how to make your own, but with a few different elements. This one's actually a lavender sachet, so one, I can feel it, and it's really fun just to touch, but you can also smell it, and it's really, really pretty. I always smell it, and now it's going to be on my fingers. But it's fun. I'll sometimes just go in here and just give it a rub, give it a smell, and then I can go into um, things that I want to do or write in my journal or make something else in my journal. Um, but there's also just using nature as your embellishments or as, you know, like a little extra something in your book, which is really fun, especially during uh, autumn and fall, and, you know, just adding little nature things in here, or things that inspire you for fall. So one of the things that I love is cozy, but not too cozy, not too heavy. So I really love felt. So this cover is perfect for that because it's felt. But I'm going to show you how to make a couple of things. So first, I'm going to show you how to make your own little nature kind of confetti mix that you can use instead of glitter, uh, or instead of, you know, paints and all of that. But one fun way that I like to do it, and we were doing it a little bit in a previous prompt, if you're joining from the prompt, but if not, you'll be seeing this on just a video by itself. But it's really, really fun, is just to get some dried elements and mix them all up, right? So these are all big, and what these are just um, dried flowers that I pulled off some of the leaves and stuff, but then I also incorporated some foil flakes. So I know this part's not nature, but I always think of pretty gilded stuff during this time of year. Don't ask me why, but I do. But I have a mortar here and pestle so that I can crush some of these up a little bit easier. I really like marigolds for this because it makes a really pretty fine type of a, I guess, confetti glitter crushed kind of thing, and it's really, really vibrant. So you can see how that is. It's even more vibrant in my hand. It's a little harder to see here, but it's really saturated and really pretty bright orange. So I'm going to put that in there. It's just a fun way to mix things in during the fall. So I'm just going to add like my different flowers in here and different colors. So I got some roses, I got some marigolds. What else is in here? I think there's some mums, some chrysanthemums, and I can't remember what this one was, the blue one. But I'm going to get all of this and put it in here. And this one's going to be crushed down a lot so that it turns more into a finer mix, like a glitter. It's almost like making your own fine glitter. And I'm just going to go in here and like smash it up. You can do it with your hand, you can do it with mortar and pestle, it doesn't matter. I always say pedestal, pedestal. And I'm just kind of squishing these guys up. And you can also get in here, you can see it's already kind of forming a really cool little mixture of flowers, and the smell is awesome for one. But I can also get in here with my hands and just kind of crush these up. The drier, the better, so you want to make sure that your flowers are really, really dry, or they're not going to shred up as nice. Um, you know, if you have a dehydrator and all that, I couldn't tell you exactly what settings or anything, but that is definitely one way that you could do it. And this just has foil flakes. Like I said, these are just foil flakes that are in here. And so those ones, sometimes though, you gotta watch because they will roll instead of break unless you have them breaking apart with something else. Then they will rip and kind of tear because the other elements are ripping and tearing them as well. But if you try to kind of smush or break them like this, they're so fine that they tend to roll into balls instead. So I like to make sure that I use this and really get in there and just kind of crush them. I'm not going to do it too much because you can hear it kind of crushing in there, and that scrapey sound. So I don't want to do that whole scrapey sound while I'm recording, so I'm doing it this way. But the smell of this is absolutely wonderful, I'll tell you that. Because you're just smelling dried flowers. It smells great. Especially marigolds. Those really smell good when you crush them up. So I'm just putting that, and I am just making the best little mixture of confetti this way. Or glitter, whatever you want to call it. But it's a great way to use nature and just autumn inspired, you know, dry leaves, different colors of dry leaves that you get during the autumn time, and putting them on a page. So you can see I already have a really fun little confetti mixture of different colors and just a little bit of gold in between for gilding, which I love. And I'm gonna I have a little bit in this jar already, but I'm gonna mix that in there a little bit more because there's a little bit of blue in here more than there was, but just so I can get all those incorporated together. So it's really pretty to press these between like wax paper and add those as pages to your journal, or just to even, you know, a little embellishment. Like I said, adding some glitter to edges of something. Use this instead of glitter, and it's really, really fun. And if you wanted to, you could of course add glitter in this. But I am going to put all of this in this little jar. I know I'm going to make a mess, but I'm going to try my best to get as much of it in there as possible. It's probably the easiest way, is shove it all in there. If you are going to be using things like a metal or something, do not use don't use a mortar and pestle that you use for your food. If you're just going to be putting flowers or plants in there, that's fine, but make sure they're not poisonous, because you don't want that to stay in here, because the smallest particles of foil will be in here. So just a forewarning, you probably want to use something separate. I know some people, you know, put gold on, actual real gold on food and stuff like that, but I don't want to take the chance of getting more metals in there. But as you can see, it created a really pretty mix in there that you can use. You can see that's just so pretty. I'm just putting that. So I'm going to leave that in there. And then we're going to prepare two things. So this is just preparing so that we can use it for, you know, for different glitter applications that we might be doing instead. And we'll show you how to use those in a second. Then I'm going to get a few more. I'm going to grab another little marigold here. And I'm going to add some blue to this one. I can't quite see what flower it is yet. It's not forget-me-not. I can't see what flower it is though. This is a different blue one, it looks like. We're going to put those in there. This time though, I'm not going to crush it quite as much because I just want the smell. So this one gives you more of a feel. This one's going to go to your sense of smell. So when you think about this prompt, you're thinking about senses and sensory from fall. What textures, what smells do you think of when you think of fall and autumn? I have a ton. So like I think of going to festivals and smelling incense and all of that. So you can light it in incense maybe when you're doing this. I think of, you know, pumpkin breads and zucchini breads and all those other things that get baked and all of that during this time. Apples. I don't have apple. I do have apple oil, but it would have been great in here probably. So I'm only crushing it just a little bit. I think of cinnamon. So I'm going to put a cinnamon stick in here and just crush it up just a little, just to get some cinnamon smell in there. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. These are like really good fresh cinnamon sticks that I get from an Etsy seller. That's where I get a lot of my spices and herbs and things like that from. Teas and all that. So I'm just smashing that little cinnamon stick in there. I'm smelling it. It just smells a lot. I'm going to save this other one. Put that aside. Some star anise. I love putting star anise in my books. It's a really cute one and it just smells good. So what I'll do is I will, because the stuff smells a lot. You can see there's powder right there. But I'll grab like the broken pieces. But also just pretty ones. That one's a pretty one right there. This one's a little thinner. I try to get the thinner ones, which is a little bit harder. I don't use those ones to cook with. That's why I'm able to just kind of do this. This doesn't get used to cook with. Usually burned or steeped. Okay, but I wanted to get to some of that powder. Should have just like scooped it out, but I'll learn one day. So I'm going to put this in there, that in there. This one's just being put aside. I'm going to scoop all this up. Put that all in there. Alright. I mostly want to crush it to make it a little bit. So I'm making it kind of like a potpourri base. Oh, and it smells so good. I can't wait to make a simmer pot. I haven't made a simmer pot since I've been here, I think once. And I really want to make a simmer pot. Alright, and then you just need like a piece of scrap lace, muslin, cheesecloth. You don't want it to have too big of a holes, but you don't want them too small either that you can't get any scent out of them. You can see this one has pretty good lace holes in it, so there's going to be a few things that are going to get through it, but for the most part it should stay pretty well. You're going to want this, you're going to want some sort of twine or something and some thread to close it up with. Or you can even glue the edges. We're going to make a little pouch. So I was just grabbing some twine and I am going to grab my wax. This is just regular block of wax. Yes, it is very orange. It looks like a block of cheese and it does make my twine turn orange. That's okay. It's that season. So I'm just wiping it down a little bit, but this just helps to keep it stiff while I'm sewing. And you need a needle or a wire that you can make into a needle, but this is a nice thick needle. We're just going to do a really simple stitch for this. Okay. I'm going to fold this in half. It doesn't have to be fancy. And then you're just going to do a little whip stitch around here. It's a very, very crude, easy stitch. I'm just going to leave that right there so I can knot it off after. but it's literally just whipping around the edges. You don't have to close it up too tight. And I'm gonna speed through this, but I'll do a close-up so you guys can see what kind of stitch I'm doing. All right, so I'm really simply just going into the lace on one of the holes, pulling it out, making sure that other one stays. So it's just looping around the edge like that. See if I can get it to focus for you. There you go. So it's just making a loop. And then you're just pulling that a little tight. And you're just going to do the same thing. And I could be calling it the wrong stitch. Definitely correct me if I am wrong. But you can see again. There. See, I'm just whipping around there. Just going in, out, and you're going to do that all the way around until you get to here. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to speed up the video so you guys can see that. And if you want to, before I speed it up, if you want to like think about what fall is for you, what intentions you want to set for fall, you can do that while sewing this up. You can call it a spell, you can call it a setting intentions, meditating, whatever you want to call it, or just happy thoughts. You're just going to keep going. So we'll go ahead and speed that up, and I'll join you back when we get to the end. Okay, so I stopped right here because you're going to need to stop to be able to fill your little pouch or your sachet, whatever you want to call it. So you do want to stop. Now, a couple things is that if you see, I actually stitched along the fold. It wasn't intentional, but I was like, oh, it actually looks really cute and it's going to help me to make this flatter. It wasn't intentional. I thought I was actually sewing here. I thought I had started here. And then as soon as I hit this bottom, I realized that I was not starting here. If that makes sense. I thought I was going this way, in other words, sort of kind of a thing. I thought I was doing it so that it would end up in the same place, but yeah. So just if you're wondering like why the bottom got sewn, sometimes I can't quite see that well. So that was one of the reasons. And I was just like, I tend to do that whenever I make things like this. I will forget and I start at the wrong end. I really want it to kind of start where I would end up in the same place, but I like it also a little bit because it looks really cute and it's going to help me flatten this guy out a little bit. So it's up to you. You can sew it up, sew all the way around. And you can see like it got a little better at the end too, or you know, through the whole thing. And it's a quick little whippy stitch and it's really cute. If you know how to like crochet or whatever, you could also like get in each hole and crochet on the edges all the way around. You can do whatever you want. But now what you want to do is go ahead and fill that pouch with the little mixture that you made of whatever scents that you want. So I'm going to fill this, and yes, the holes, some things are going to fly through, but that's where you're going to shake it out before actually putting it in your book to get out any of the really small bits. And then the really small bits you can stick in your little confetti glitter jar. You could also put like bigger whole pieces in there of stuff, but I'm going to use this as a decoration for it. All right, so right here, now I'm just kind of sifting out all that really small stuff, right? Because we don't want to fill it too much. You're basically making kind of like a potpourri sachet type of a pouch. But it's really fun to put like thin in your book. So then now all you need to do is finish it off by closing it up. So we'll speed that up one more time and we will just close this guy up. So you want to make sure your string is long enough. But yeah, speed up time. All right, I got towards the end here. And since we still have the other string, you can just tie it. Now, a couple of tips, if you ended up noticing like you have too big of a hole somewhere, like a bunch of stuff is still getting out, you could always go back and stitch one more time with a few more whip stitch little things. And I like doing that way, the little like kind of whip stitch, just because it covers a lot really quickly and holds everything in. You can see all that pretty color now with that in there, and the smell is freaking fabulous. So you can put as much or as little smell. If you don't want any smell at all, you can get things that don't really smell. You can smell before sticking them in there. And I'm just one more time because I was crushing a little bit while I was doing this. And it will get a little crushed when it's in your book. For the most part, it stays pretty well. So I am just going to cut away these ends right here. And I'm just going to tie a little knot to hold it in place, so it doesn't come apart on us. Do that one more time. Just double knotting it, just to make sure it doesn't come apart. See, it's just a little piece of lace that I had left, and make yourself a cute sachet. You could also put this anywhere else you want, but I'm going to put it in my book. So let me show you how we use both of these things in the book. Okay, where is my book? Oh, here we go. So I'm actually going to be using it in a different book than the one you saw. Use this in my flip-flop journal, so I think it would look really cute in this one. And so you can see there's all kinds of different areas and things that I can put things. And it's really fun. I like to put sachets sometimes like on the end of something so you can see it towards the end. And every time I open it, I'll get a whiff. So I'm going to put mine here. And I might leave this. I might actually put it right there. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it over here so that these strings hang out, and I can add some charms that will also hang out of the book itself. For this, I'm going to use Beacon 3-in-1. Tell you right now, because of all the smells, my nose is going crazy. Okay. So you can use like fabric glue. It just depends on what you're using. I'm just trying to see which way I want to show on the front. I'm send it this way so that way that's up there. Okay. Because the smell of the Beacon 3-in-1 is not going to be pretty, but you can use like a fabric tack, or you can sew it in to your book before. There's all kinds of ways of doing it. Yeah, it's going to hold down some of that stuff that's in there, but that's okay. It'll just help hold it in place. So I am just pushing that down. Some of that glue is going to get everywhere. So what I'm doing is shaking the sachet stuff that's on the inside to get to the edges so that any glue that's seeping will grab onto it, so that it doesn't like grab too much of the fabric. And it's kind of holding some of that stuff in place nicely. So I mean, it's pretty and it just sits there and it'll get smashed a little every time, right? But every time I open it, you know, the big book, I get to smell it. Although right now I'm smelling 3-in-1, but for the most part, I get to smell it. The cool part is I can also do something like this for a decoration on my book, just for the textures and things like that. I think that actually look really cool right here. Actually, I think I'm going to put that one there. So that's another way you can incorporate smells and textures and things that remind you of fall. Acorn, dried leaves. It's up to you, whatever reminds you of it. Just going to put that right there. We'll let that guy dry. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll use like a Beacon 3-in-1 or a something. Oh, I scratched my arm earlier and my arm keeps feeling weird because of the band-aid on it because I did a pretty good gouge on the scratch. All right, so we're just going to let that sit there and dry. Okay, and then we're going to use our little confetti mix that we made. Well, that's drying. I want to change this to be just a little more fall-like because this was something I had made completely separate. And let me get my little needle here. Don't know why my glue was not in my glue holder. But I am now just going to add some dabs throughout this other bits of foliage. And this is like fake mossy stuff or something like that. It's meant to make it look like grass. But then there's some actual moss in here, as you can see. It's reindeer moss. I'm just adding some areas that I want to add more of this little confetti mix that I made. Thinking right along here. And I'm not doing it super right away because I want it to grab and hold really well. I'm going to grab it out of here since I have a whole bunch. We're just going to incorporate that in. I'm just pushing that into the glue. I'll take some of it out so I can get to some of this finer stuff. I'll just push that in there. Should have grabbed just enough by now. I'm going to go this direction just to try not to get it too much on the lace right now. All right, as you can see, like just enough was left behind. Get that to focus a little better. There we go. See all those pretty fall colors in there. Just kind of intertwined in everything, along with our star anise. And then when you open up the book now, we have our pretty little pouch. So you can use this, you know, instead of glitter, highlight some areas. The finer you grind it down, the more it'll look like glitter. And then if you're adding a little bit of that foil, it even looks more like it. Which is really, really fun, really. To me, you can see that this is a little more fine, so it definitely reminds you of glitter. The cool thing is it's a bit easier to clean up than glitter to me. And I've been doing this all day, so there's a lot of mess on my desk. But how pretty did that make that cover just look on its own now? Just adding a little bit of extra. And I'll probably then get in with some of my inks to darken up these guys. Just because I want to tone this down for fall now. But I hope you guys like that. If you have any questions, always leave them, you know, leave them in the comments or in our groups. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but don't be afraid to get out there and grab some stuff from nature, crush it up, do whatever it is that you like to do. I am going to crush this up a little bit more fine as well because I really like it nice and fine. But this way you guys don't have to hear that noise. When you do it, you kind of just give it a good grind all the way around. Make sure it's hitting that edge, and it'll make it finer and finer. Or if you have like a little grinder for like spices and stuff, you can put it in there too. But make sure again you label it separately for things like this, so that way in case glue gets into it, glitter gets into it, you don't have to worry about it mixing into your food. You don't want to use it on the same thing that's your food. But I hope you love that. I know I always have a ball doing it, and we'll see you guys later.